And we are ready to go.
Awesome. Okay. Is the slide showing?
It is, yes.
Okay, cool. So, hello everyone. My name is Marissa. In my group, Anthony and Natalie, we decided to do a research on Down syndrome. So let's just dive in. One of the questions that came up was, what is Down syndrome exactly, and what is the most common symptom? Basically, it's a disability, or it's a thing that you are born with. It's not necessarily that a mother chose or a father chose. It just kind of happens. In later slides, Anthony will dive in a little deeper about it. But again, it's just an extra pair of chromosomes that affect how the baby's body and how the brain develops. So it could cause mental and physical challenges for that baby. Some of the conditions that are pretty noticeable are going to be like the flattened face, and you can tell from a side view that their face is a little flatter. They also have almond-shaped eyes that are kind of slanted. They also have smaller hands and feet, and they have a shorter neck. And according to the CDC, Down syndrome remains the most common chromosomal condition diagnosed in the United States. Each year, about 6,000 babies born in the United States have Down syndrome. This means that Down syndrome occurs in about 1 in every 700 babies. So that's kind of pretty crazy how big that statistic is. In these pictures, I just wanted to show you what kind of some of the main features that a Down syndrome baby has, or a person. And on the left side, you have the two different comparison of the chromosomes. The top is going to be a normal one, and the bottom is going to be the baby with the extra pair of chromosomes. You can see it on that little section where it says 21, that extra pair. Then right here on the right side are just some extra cute photos of babies. I honestly, when I was researching this, I saw a lot of parents and guardians and family members posting about how their life kind of changed for the better. They think that people with Down syndrome gave more confidence within themselves. So I've met a few, and they're surely confident. And then how do we know when someone has Down syndrome? Obviously, their features are going to be pretty noticeable, but if they're not, again, if you look in their chromosomes, you'll see that extra pair. There's actually 3 different types of chromosomes that can be detected from the Down syndrome, I guess. The first one is trisomy 21. There's the translocation Down syndrome, and there is the mosaic Down syndrome. And then just a random fact while I was researching all this is that there's actually a cafe that is called Biddy and Bo's Coffee Shop. And it started off with these parents wanting to start a coffee shop for their 2 kids who both had Down syndrome. And the whole actually coffee shop is worked by people with Down syndrome. So if you ever get a chance to visit that place, I would. It seems pretty awesome. The next person that we have is going to be Anthony. He's going to be talking about more of when it's diagnosed.
Awesome. So yeah, big question that a lot of people would have is, when would this be diagnosed? A child can be diagnosed with Down syndrome from as early as 15 to 22 weeks into the mother's pregnancy. This can be done by comparing the first trimester's test. It's going to be called an integrated screening test to the second trimester's test. You can compare a little bit of the difference in the child's growth, and you can kind of give a percentage chance as to what the child could be leaning towards. Of course, it's only when a child's born that you can actually do a chromosomal test. This will actually show you if the child has all of the symptoms, instead of just some symptoms like on a physical level, just on by appearance. Once the child's born, you can actually get that chromosomal test, the chromosomal karyotype test to be specific. And this will actually let you know if there's an extra chromosome. Just like in Marissa's picture earlier on slide 2, I believe, or 3, you could see there's an extra chromosome. For me, it's on number 18 here, and it can be on a variety of different chromosomes. And then the next one's going to be Natalie.
Okay, so with Okay, sorry. So with Down syndrome, there are going to be challenges that a student might face in the classroom. There are going to be physical challenges and mental challenges. Some of the physical challenges, as Marissa talked about earlier, they have smaller hands, which means they have more of a difficulty writing. They also have the visual problems due to the almond slanted eyes, and then they also have hearing impairments. So some of their mental challenges is going to be they have a hard time processing the auditory and visual information. So like if you post it on the whiteboard, it's not going to be as easy for them to understand it without further explanation. They also have language deficits, so they have a hard time with reading comprehension and figurative language. They also have a hard time with their peers, like interacting with them and socializing, because they have a difficulty with their awareness and their social skills. They also, some say they have a bad memory and some say they don't. It's really up to the individual. But they also do have a hard time understanding complex text information if they're not able to break it down up into smaller chunks. So, like I was saying, this isn't going to be every Down syndrome student. They're not going to have all of these problems, both physical and mental. It's going to be up to the individual because they're all going to be different with different scenarios. These are just some of the most common, and some of them might have one or two, some of them might have all. It's really up to that kid. With, go ahead and go to the next slide. So with the challenges, there are going to be accommodations that teachers and schools can make for these kids. Some schools have co-op, I think is what they call it, where a Down syndrome student will be into a regular classroom and they'll keep up with them. They might change how they're graded. They might change the more time that they're allowed to have. But just some of the smaller, more simple list of what they can do is if teachers include multisensory learning, students have an easier way of understanding it because they can, instead of just hearing and listening, they can see or they can memorize or they can read it on their own. If you include lots of visuals in your instructions, it also helps them. Of course, they're going to need extra time. They're not as quick as I don't want to say normal, but a student without Down syndrome. So they'll need more time to do their work, more time to turn in assignments. I also saw on one of the websites that if you encourage them to use technology, it can help because they can use the speak to text or they can type rather than writing because they have that difficulty. In a classroom, they need help staying focused. They have a short attention span. If we give them tools to stay organized, that can help as well. And then with their smaller hands, if you offer them large grips for their pencils, it gives them a lot easier time writing. And if a teacher could, it's a lot easier now with Zoom. If you can record your lessons, they're able to rewatch it over and over, and then they can understand the information slowly in chunks rather than a student just listening to it in one sitting. And I know it's a hard one, but if you can maintain a distraction-free classroom, that would be the best environment for a student with Down syndrome to learn in. And then I'm going to give it back to AJ to go over the additional information.
Right on. So, additional information regarding Down syndrome that we haven't included so far is that most children who have Down syndrome oftentimes experience what we've all at least seen in our lifetime, hopefully not done, but bullying. That is something that many kids suffer from, and many kids also just do the act of. This is usually most often caused because children at a young age don't understand the definition of empathy quite fully. It's quite common that a child doesn't know exactly more than what they feel, at least on a full level. They don't relate entirely to what another child might be going through or what their situation is. So it's very common that that could be a very large issue in a classroom environment or school environment that could really affect them. And also, Down syndrome can cause more health risks than just what you see on the appearance and what we've discussed so far. Some of them include some additional heart defects, Alzheimer's disease, respiratory problems, and many more. Luckily, medical advances have drastically improved the quality of life for individuals who have Down syndrome. In the 1930s, the average age expectancy was 25 years old, and now the average is 60, with many reaching higher than that. So as far as that goes, it's been an incredible improvement for them. And that is
So altogether, our presentation was pretty eye-opening for all of us. We've learned about the different ways of a disability, such as the Down syndrome that we researched, and how we can accommodate, when we do become, how to accommodate all these students equally. So thank you for your time, and I hope you liked our presentation.
right on.